Hey, okay, this is not a written piece. This is straight off the cuff, as I kind of remember it. So don't expect any dazzling prose. Okay. Earlier on today, I was online and someone was asked me about terrible gigs, and they asked me what was the worst gig that I'd ever done or I could remember. And at the time, I couldn't think of anything. I could think of the gigs that were like not great or blah blah blah, but I couldn't think of anything that was just so dreadful that maybe I'd cut them out of my head. But I couldn't really think of anything really terrible. And then a couple of hours ago, I was sitting around thinking about this, and then I remembered, yes, there was a really fucking terrible night, a really, really soul-destroying career wreckage of a night that happened a few years ago. And I'll try and tell you about it. This is how I remember it. Maybe this isn't quite right. Maybe this isn't quite how it happened, but this is how I kind of remember it, and I haven't rehearsed this. So. A few years ago, well, up until, I don't know, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, had a band, a kind of punk band, a light-hearted punk band, kind of like a cross between Rosillo's, Dr. Feelgood, that kind of thing. A real good band, you know, good at that, you know. We're an original band doing original stuff. All of us the wrong side of 40, which is that makes it a hell of a lot harder when you're trying to tread the boards at the wrong side of 40. But we were doing it, you know. We were doing it, and we were doing original material, and we were having a degree of success at what we were doing, you know. I knew we were never going to be rock stars. We thought we could have some fun and get around for no money, then that was good enough. And we were successful at that. We were getting reasonable gigs, doing some big stages, some small stages. We're getting to support all the sort of daft punk bands that were coming out of retirement, and we were doing all that, and it was good, and it was a lot of fun, and it felt like something, you know, was happening. And we were playing every toilet in Scotland and some toilets in England, you know. Every show that we could play, we were playing, you know. And we were playing with, it's quite strange when you get older, because you're playing with a lot of younger bands, and the young bands now are not like the young bands when we were young. The young bands now are really fucking good. They have great instruments, and they have well-crafted, well-written songs, and they've honed their stage persona, you know. We were nothing like that as kids. We were like, fucking come on! Plug your fucking 10-pound guitar in and just go. That's what we were like, but it isn't like that now. It's the proud parents stand at the side of the stage, and, you know. So we were doing lots of gigs like that with bands like that in Edinburgh. Hundreds of them. There's so many of them. I can't remember a single one of them or a single song. But we always had the pressure on us. We always had to be the best band, because we were in our 40s. And every time we turned up for a show, I could see that everyone around, all the younger kids and that, would look at us and go, "Oh, fucking blues band." Right up until the point we sound checked and they went, "Oh, right, okay." You know, it was very important that we blew everybody off the stage. That's what you had to do. You couldn't come second to a bunch of 22-year-olds. You just couldn't. It's much harder when you're in your 40s. You've got to be great. You really have to be great. If you're not, you know, an amazing player or whatever, which I'm not, you had to be great at something. Fortunately, we were a great band, and we were, you know, doing the best we can, and we were playing everywhere, you know, and it was all working out, you know. And then things started to get a little harder, a little down the line. Once you've played everywhere, you've been everywhere, and you've been round and round, you've played every gig, and what do? We had a new bass player, and he said, "Why don't you come and play at Monty's?" And we're like, "Monty's? What's Monty's?" "It's a place in Dunfermline." "Why don't you come and play at Monty's?" I suppose so. What's it like?" "Oh, sweaty little club, really fucking busy on a Saturday night." "Yeah, okay. That sounds good." We'd played in Dunfermline before at a place around the corner. I can't remember what it was called. It wasn't a great gig. It was pretty much empty, but we still had fun. We were still able to have fun on an empty gig. Somehow we were able to do that. And to me, Dunfermline always meant the Rosillos, the Skids, and I thought there's got to be a scene in Dunfermline. There's got to be a scene if we could just somehow fucking tap into it. So yeah, sure, we'll play Monty's without ever really knowing what it was. The usual thing, sending emails back and forth, what kind of drums do you need, blah, 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 all that sort of thing. It was one of these things, there's 5 bands playing, you don't know what order you are on the list, you've got to share a snare drum and your hi-hat, you've got to take your own snare drum and hi-hats. That was all cool, we'd done all that a million times, and we didn't really care what position we were in the lineup. That's not true, we always tried to be second last. Being second last in the lineup is the best place to be. If you're in a band and you're in these kind of gigs, don't try and be last on. You'll play to nobody. Be second last on. You'll play to almost everybody and you'll have the best gig. That's my tip. Anyway, all arranged. We'll do that thing. We all head off to Dunfermline for the sound check, which was at like 5 o'clock tea time or something. So that left between 5 o'clock doing the sound check and then 7 hours till you're actually on to enjoy the subtle delights of Dunfermline, such as they are. I remember getting there and going upstairs and seeing the setup and thinking, oh my fuck. The stage was, and I'm not exaggerating here, the stage was only about 3 foot deep, if that. So basically, we had to set our equipment up in a line. I don't know if you can imagine what that's like. It was like we were all playing on a really long, thin step. So we had to play in a line. Drum kit at one side, then the bass, and then the singer, and then me, the guitar, all in a straight line. Absolutely horrible. Never done that before. So we do this sound check. I can't really remember what the sound check was like. I presume it was pretty horrible. I remember the bar staff being really fucking... One guy behind the bar being incredibly irritating and trying to be funny and doing all that kind of stuff. And it was a female sound engineer. No issue with that. I don't care what the sound engineer has between their legs as long as they can engineer. And they were using a tiny little mixing desk, pretty much like the one that I've got in front of me now, recording this. That's not a problem either. It doesn't really matter. It's not the size of your desk. It's what you do with it. I can't remember the sound check. I can't remember if it was good or bad. I'm pretty sure it was bad. But often you think, oh, well, it won't be so bad when the room's full up. It won't be so bad. And usually the room is full up to a certain point. I remember doing the sound check. I remember hanging around in Dunfermline for what seemed like a fucking ice age. And I remember realising I had no Rizla papers at one point, and I only had 15p in my pocket. And there was a little chip shop across the road from this place, Monty's. And I remember going in there and I said, "Have you got any Rizla papers?" And the guy said, "Yeah." And he put them on the... No, sorry, it was matches. He put the matches on the counter, and he said, "That's 18p." And I said, "Oh, no." I said, "Oh, God." I said, "I've only got 16. And he went, shrugged his shoulders and put them back on the shelf. And I said, "Are you fucking serious? Are you seriously not going to give me those matches because I'm 3 pence short?" And he went, "No, I'm not going to give you them." And I went, "Oh, come on, man. Don't be ridiculous." And at that point, the guy next to him said, "Give him the fucking matches." So I got the matches, but I just thought, that is a bad omen. That is a really bad omen. Anyway, we were hung around for a fucking ice age. And I remember watching the bands that were on before us. As I said, the same thing. Youthful bands with well-crafted songs, very expensive instruments, and kind of mum and dad hanging around in the audience. And they were doing okay. They had people watching them. They were getting a bit of a round of applause. And I think we were on third of 5 bands or something. So I thought, fine. Fine, that's okay. It'll be fine. We'll go up there, we'll chunk out our rock and roll and we'll go, and it's not going to be a problem. Well, it came for the point for us to go on, and we sort of squeezed our fat bodies onto this tiny little 3-foot deep stage. And there might have been maybe 30 people watching, which was fine because it was a tiny venue. We started to play, and the sound of the band was so fucking bad. I don't think I'd ever heard anything so bad. It sounded like a drum kit falling down the stairs with some amps falling down, but it was just fucking horrendous. The sound was just the worst sound you could ever imagine for a band. But, you know, trying to be professional, we're trying to play through it, you know, and we're trying to play. The singer starts to sing, and it's just like, and I'm thinking, oh my God, there's absolutely nothing. There's no monitors. I start to sing, and it's with this behind it, the absolute worst. And I'm looking out into the audience, and I can just see this confused sort of 30 people gradually becoming 20 people. You know, I'm looking across at the person doing the sound, and it's this sort of girl. And I don't think it's the same girl who was doing the sound check. And I'm shouting, monitors! At the girl, monitors! And she's fiddling with buttons and pushing buttons. And she keeps looking up at me and going, huh? Huh? You know, raising her arms as if like, I don't know. Fucking horrible. First song ends, and I say, oh, can we have some monitors? I don't know if you can hear the vocals. Can we have some monitors? And there's lots of screaming and coming from the PA, and we start going into the second song. I could see people just drifting away, and the sound getting worse and worse. And then suddenly, bang! The vocal comes in, crystal clear. Yahoo! We can do it. The singer's singing. I can hear him crystal clear. I start singing the backing vocals. It's crystal clear. It's just suddenly a hell of a lot better. And we start playing for about 15 seconds, and we're back into fucking diarrhea. The sound girl is just like fucking panicking at this thing. We finish the song, and I'm giving it on the mic. I'm trying not to be horrible, and I'm saying, you had it! Yeah, you had it! You had it for a minute. Whatever you had at the start of that song, go back to that. She's looking more and more panicky. I'm looking out into the audience. We're down to fucking 10 people now. We carry on playing. The sound gets gradually worse and worse and worse until basically we just sound like a load of amateur fucking nutcases who've suddenly got hold of instruments. It is, without doubt, the worst. Just the worst fucking... And there is... by the time we get to the end of it, there was literally nobody there. Nobody there apart from, I think, my girlfriend, and that is just the most embarrassing thing to be in a band and to look out into the audience and to only see your girlfriend sort of trying really hard to have a good time. It is the most cringe-making fucking horrible thing. We finished the set, and we walked off that stage to the sound of our own fucking footsteps. And I remember standing outside in the back of that hall, I say hall, room, Monty's, Dunfermline. I remember standing there and smoking a cigarette and thinking, holy shit, what the fuck happened there? And kind of knowing that, I don't know, maybe knowing in my heart of hearts that if I'd come to that, then I'd come to the fucking end. Although that wasn't the end. We did carry on for a while and do better things than that. But I think that night burned me. You know, it burned me inside, and I kind of knew. I knew from that point that how do you... You know, if you're 22, you can pick yourself up from that. If you're 33, you can pick yourself up from that. But when you're 45... and you're doing that, wow, it's really, really difficult to come back from that. And it was so terrible. And then, strangely enough, when I got back home a couple of days later, I started getting fucking emails from Monty's, from the bar manager or whoever the fuck he was at Monty's, saying, You really upset the sound woman. You were very unprofessional and you really upset the sound woman by shouting at her. Now, I wasn't shouting at her and I wasn't horrible to her. I was just like, please, can you do this? Please, can you do that? I don't like upsetting the sound person. I know that that's a really bad thing to do. But fucking string of emails. You really upset Abigail or Susan or whatever her fucking name was. I really upset her. Wow. So I had to write a whinging fucking email to this person saying, I'm sorry I upset you. I had no intent to upset you. Blah-de fucking blah. Just in case our paths crossed again, because that's what it's like in music. You've got to keep everybody sweet. But boy, did that stick in my throat. If it happened now, that would not have happened. So yeah, awful. Awful, 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 awful. My worst gig, Monty's, Dunfermline.